Nets, thanks to the good folks at Fused Logic TV, and you can be streamed at live.fusedlogic.tv. Is that correct, Evan? And Evan back there is our shameless broadcaster, so give him a high five later. Give him a hug, too. He really likes hugs. And Elm Cafe has diligently worked hard in a very small room in very high temperatures to bake those muffins and brew that coffee. So go there, support them, buy one of their amazing, random, awesome sandwiches because they're like so tasty and delicious. And I think it's time for you all to meet our food sponsor for this social media breakfast, Group of Rogues, or Randy Brzozowski. Randy's going to come up here, stage right as well, and he's going to tell you a little bit what he's all about and some of the awesomeness he does. So ladies and gentlemen, Randy or Randwolven. Did you want... Keep it going. Turn it on.
On. There we go. Hi, highly technical. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I've got 5 minutes. I'll be faster. Permission marketing. Who knows what permission marketing is? Raise your hands. Who doesn't know what permission marketing is? Who doesn't speak English? Just checking my margin of error. Okay, that's great. I am going to ask Stephen, who's over there, to grab my iPad, which is on the table right beside him, and to start passing it out among you. This is not a giveaway. Start at the back, doesn't matter. What's on there is a little sign-up form for a newsletter, my newsletter. It is once a month. You don't have to sign up. I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to see who signs up. I'm not going to pay attention. When I go home later and look at who signs up, if it's not a lot of people, I may curl up in the fetal position and cry. But that's okay. That's not your problem. What it is, it's a monthly newsletter. I give away some marketing information, some tips, some feedback, that sort of thing. If you don't like it, next one comes out next week, you can unsubscribe. It's fine. It's a freebie. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine. The point is, what I'm trying to do is give you something that you can use, that is of value to you, that is on your terms, that you might like, and if you don't like, you're not committed to. I'm going to commit to just giving it out once a month. You will get one email from me a month. That's it. If you like it, great. If you don't, not your thing, great. Unsubscribe. But the whole point is, I'm not forcing something down your throats. I am trying to offer something of value to you and see if you will eventually come to me. You might read something and say, oh, I like that. You might, after 2.5 years of getting this once a month, go, you know, I think I have a need for these sorts of things. You might eventually come to me. Or you might just take the tips and become your own marketing person and run your own company and be my competition and run me into the ground. That's fine. But the whole point is, it's all about permission. You are giving me permission to give you something once in a while that is of value to you, and in exchange, someday you might give something back. This is one of the things that we do with Group of Rogues. This is what permission marketing means, as opposed to interruptive marketing, in-your-face marketing, billboards, TV clippings, more ads, more billboards, more stickers, more signs, more logos, that sort of thing. Does that all make sense to everybody? Yay. So pass along the only thing I'm really worried about at the end of this is that the iPad does come back to me, regardless of how many people sign up. And if you're really interested, I have a few calendars over there which tie in to the newsletter that you're getting. And it's of value to you too, because it's a calendar. It's dates in a month, which some people like to have reference to. And if you like it, there's 5 left. I'm giving them away at half price, because half the year is over. The math whizzes will appreciate that one. Yeah, that's about all. Any questions? No? Good. I'm giving it back to... am I giving it back to Steve, or are we moving right?
You sure are.
I'm giving it back. You're just enjoying the fact that you're over there.
I know, it's like a giant sandbox.
All right.
Well, I do have an announcement.
Thank you.
But it's pertaining to washrooms or powder rooms, if you're classy like that. If you don't know where the bathrooms are here, they're just right yonder. So you're like... Get up quietly, should you have to answer the call of nature. Walk this way. And women, lucky ladies, yours is directly, like, due south. Gentlemen, yours is just to the right of that. So that's where the bathrooms are. You're like, thank you so much. Sometimes when you tell someone where the bathroom is, they just get up slowly and they go anyways, because they're like, I really had to pee. Thank you. Why am I whispering? So... we have a dedicated group of 5 individuals that make this thing go off or on a regular basis. There's myself, Hedgehog. I should put myself on the bottom of the list. We should rank it as importance. Because, well, no, definitely not. That's why I shouldn't be on top. We have myself. We have Jackie Fraser, who's at the back there. She's Savage Tyner on Twitter. We have Morgan Hiernick, or Morgs Live. She is off. She's got a big, important designer meeting today, so wish her luck on Twitter at Morgs Live. And she brought the treats. She's our food deliverer and sponsorship coordinator / acquirer. And then we have Randy. What? Sponsors and helps organize the breakfast? Wow. You're just a jack of all trades, you. And we have the lovely Marlis. Where's Marlis is in the back. She was the one giving you out the name tags and checking your names off the list. So we are the Fantastic Five. There's a comic that says Fantastic Four, but we just add one more because we're that much betterer. So that's us. Follow us. Drop us a sweet tweet sometimes. And if you want to follow Social Media Breakfast in Calgary or in Edmonton, engage us on Twitter. Say hi, SMBYEG. It's myself or Jackie that has the keys to the Twitter mobile. So expect wit and whimsy. And then SMBYYC, which I will tell you guys all about in a later slide. So we need sponsors. If you or your organization is interested in nourishing our bodies and minds, the approximate cost for that is $250. And drop us a tweet at SMBYEG or tweet Jackie and be like, hey, oh no, Morgan. Anybody. Tweet anybody and say you're interested in sponsoring the breakfast. Because our operating budget is nil. We try to piece these together all indie style, just relying on the kindness of strangers. So if you're interested in sponsoring, just let us know. And there's a few sponsors actually in the audience today. So maybe afterwards they'll be like, I sponsored a breakfast and it was fantastic. Fairmont, Nicole. Which actually she said something big and awesome is going on at the Fairmont Hotel McDonald's. So I can't tell you what it is because I don't even know, but read their Twitter stream and maybe they'll tell you. Too soon? Just sneak in. That's what I'm going to do. Speak up or forever hold your tweet. I was pretty proud of that line. If you would like to speak or you know someone who'd be interested in speaking at a breakfast, talk to Jackie, Savage Tyner. She is taking pictures or vlogging. I don't know. Is that what the kids call it these days? Vlog? I might start a vlog one day. SMBYEG or Savage Tyner. It's awesome. It's fun. I would maybe one day speak at a breakfast, but then who would host? It'd just be like the world would implode in itself in an endless loop of gravity and awesomeness. The next social media breakfast, SMBYEG number 20. I don't know, what's the significance about the 20 as an age? Anybody? You hit your sweet 20s and you're excited? No. 21's the big one, because then you're like, Vegas. I went to Vegas with my uncle once. It was très lame. We stayed at like the Holiday Inn and played like canasta. It was weird. And those obscure card games that you play with your uncles. I'm like, how about we go to a casino? He's like, how about we play Monopoly? You get to be the thimble. And I'm like, I want to be the dog. So the next breakfast is Friday, August 31st, 8:30 till 10:30 a.m. at the Startup Edmonton headquarters. So right here. And now you all know how to get here. I made a blooper on a tweet that I sent earlier. I said that the entrance was on the east side of the building when it's the west side of the building. So if anybody ever wants to go camping with me, I have a really keen sense of direction. So I'm thinking we can go to the mountains, and we're just going to drive a couple hours east and have a good time. So tough crowd. That's okay. Social Media Breakfast Calgary, if you guys are ever in the city to the south of us, 2.5 hours to 3 hours, depends on what kind of mood you're in and how fast you're driving. It's the second last Friday of every month. And the committee organizers are here. So Donna McTaggart, or Donna McT, is a great connector in this province we call home, and the province that some people call Alberta. And you should definitely get to know her online. So take some time to take a mental Polaroid of that, and check them out sometime. Now, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's our presenter. I had to warn her in advance that I actually took her avatar off Twitter. She's like, that's a much younger version of me, and people are going to wonder why I'm skating in July. So thanks, Steve, thanks. Her name's Steph Enders. She works for Bottom Line Productions, which helps to shamelessly promote the Fringe. I don't know if you guys have heard of that little Fringe festival we got going on. It's kind of a big deal. Steph is a project manager at Bottom Line Productions, and Bottom Line Productions is a marketing and media relations agency with a focus on the arts, culture, and non-for-profit clients. So everything that I think is rad. So that's awesome. She's passionate about the arts. I would think that you'd have to be passionate about the arts if you work to shamelessly promote them all the time.
Just a little.
And also the proof is in the pudding, because on top of working for Bottom Line, on top of shamelessly promoting the Fringe, she is a committee member, She is a committee member of Edmonton's Next Gen Society. She's on the board of the Metro Cinema Society, and she's also part of the faculty of MacEwan Arts and Cultural Management Diploma Program. So she knows what she's talking about, which is good. She's not just like, let's talk about the arts, I think.
Yay!
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give to you Miss Stephanie Enders.
Oh.
And as we switch,
We're going to do some fancy computer switching. Can you hear me okay? Yes? It's very exciting.
you can also use this if you don't.
Oh, no, I do not want that at all.
As a shameless promoter of the arts, you learn how to project your voice.
Oh, okay. I'll speak a little louder.
That's okay. Some people are like, why does he need a mic then?
I was going to say.
There we go.
It works.
And Stephen makes
It's
his
a Christmas
exit
miracle.
stage
I'm
right.
going to.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's a Fringe miracle. So thank you so much for having me today. As Steve mentioned, I'm Stephanie from Bottom Line Productions, and we work with the Fringe Theater Adventures on all things Village of the Fringe. So that's their traditional marketing, their social media, and their media relations. And today we're going to talk, I'm going to talk. Everything Bottom Line does is fairly holistic. We're a small team, so quite often I refer to us as we, when really it's one person manning the social media platforms. Hi.
We have a technical issue with our live cast detector.
Hi, live cast. Is that better? Thumbs up. There we go. Oh my goodness. So the Village of the Fringe comes to Edmonton August 16th to 26th, and it's a pretty exciting time for us. One of the things that people who are new to Edmonton or new to the Fringe Festival might not know is that we're a very large theater event. We have more than 215 productions over an 11-day span. That's 1,800 performances. So the scale is huge, but the big marker for us is that we're unjuried. So if you're interested in performing at the Fringe, you can come and present whatever you like. We have a lottery for 11 venues, so we pull a certain number of artists to perform there. It tends to be 1 in 4 win the lottery. And then our system really supports BYOVs, so bring your own venue. This year we'll have our largest number of BYOVs yet, and that really adds to the unjuried atmosphere. So not only are we not jurying the kinds of work that are being presented, we're not jurying the kinds of venues that people can present in. The sister portion to being unjuried means we're also uncensored. I'm a bit of a prude. I'll fess up, I'm a huge prude. So the uncensored mandate really challenges me on social media because I see artists posting things and I'm like, oh my goodness, I would never post something like that, or I don't know if I would be comfortable aligning my organization with something like that, but because the Fringe is such an open organization, we really encourage that level of freedom. So these two items together really pose some interesting challenges and opportunities on social media. Some of the groups of people that we're really responsible to on social media are our board of directors. So the Fringe is a not-for-profit organization, so we're governed by a wonderful group of volunteers. And here they are with our Fringed kids. We have kids this year for Village of the Fringe. So we have a set of 7 kids, and I think that's a good opportunity for our first prize tweet. So we have 7 kids, and we're looking for names for them. So if you would like to tweet to #YegFringe and the social media breakfast hashtag what you think our kids should be named, we'll pull some winners for some door prizes off of those tweets. You can suggest just one, but if you have a full set, that's even better. Creepy number 1 through 7. Excellent. So another group that we're responsible to on social media is the staff. The staff of the Fringe, we have a core staff of around 25. We grow to 100 over the course of the festival. And these are the people who really feed a lot of the kind of information from an organizational standpoint that you'll see on social media. So here, I'll point out some lovely folks. This is Tracy and Kate. They're our volunteer department. So all things volunteer on social media really do come through these 2 lovely ladies. Mike here in the middle is our director of operations. So we have a massive site. We're expecting over 400,000 people to come into the heart of Old Strathcona in 11 days. That's an incredible amount of people. We've been doing some number crunching around what that means, and it's putting like dozens of smaller Alberta communities all in one neighborhood for 11 days. It's really quite extraordinary. So Mike takes care of all of the things that build that infrastructure. And so when you see on social media things about road closures and ways to travel safely to the Fringe, he's really our man behind that. And then we have an amazing development team. So we have Debbie and Christina, and they really do all the work behind the scenes to gather the funds to make the festival happen. So later in the presentation, we'll see some ways that we do sponsor integration on all of our platforms, and they're the 2 ladies that lead that. And I would be remiss to leave out Mr. Thomas Scott. He's our program director, and he liaises with all the artists. So we have an incredible roster of artists, more than 1,000 that come together to present work for you, and he's their singular and main point of contact. So we have a lot of conversations going on behind the scenes with artists about what they can do on social media to really drive people to their performances. So these are some of my favorite people in the whole world. They make me very happy. Another really important group that we rely on at the Fringe are our volunteers. This is a picture from last year of 2 fantastic gate volunteers. They just look so radiant and full of joy to be at the Fringe. We have about 1,500 volunteers during the course of the 11-day festival that we really rely on to make everything happen. I'll do a big plug for volunteers right now. We're still looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering, there's lots of different teams you can serve on. And it's a great way to kind of experience the festival in a different manner. Volunteers get to see a lot of shows, and if it's your first time at the festival, it's a really interesting way to kind of connect directly with artists and all of the different events happening. And then I would say the last internal group of people that I feel really responsible for on social media are our artists. These are some of my favorite artists from past festivals, and they're returning this year. I always mess up their name, but they're Die Roten Punkte, and they are a brother-sister German rock band, and they put on a full-on concert as their show, and I think they really highlight that Fringe spirit, that anything is possible, and you can turn anything into a theatrical experience. So these 4 groups together really fall under this unjuried and uncensored mandate that we feel guides all of our social media practices. Of course, the last picture that's missing out of this is all of our festival patrons. So we have the 400,000 people that visit us on site, and then about 140,000 ticket buyers. So we're dealing with large masses of people with lots of different interests who have lots of different needs and the kind of information they require from us. So when there's this huge inventory of people looking to you for information and all the opportunities that social media provides, it helps me to develop a list of priorities. So when we look at social media, when we're making a decision of the kind of platform we're going to use or the level of investment, we sort them under one of 4 categories. And these are, let's see if this works. It does. Life is good. Participation platforms, visualization, concierge services, and aggregators. So if something doesn't fit into those 4 categories, we know we don't need to touch it. It's a nice way for us to kind of sort information quickly so we're not overwhelmed by the number of choices. When it comes to participation, our driver for this is we really want to use social media to build conversations with patrons, volunteers, and artists to encourage participation on-site and offline with and online with the festival. So finding ways that we can use social media to really drive people to an in-person experience. And I think that's the challenge for lots of arts organizations, is if you develop these really active conversations online, where's the initiative to bring them into your houses? And so participation platforms kind of give us the opportunity to show people what that experience is like. That moves us really well into our visualization platforms. So we really try to use using a variety of information, create visual testaments to the festival. So we want to create images and albums that speak to the experience of the Fringe and allow the patron to identify themselves as part of that experience. If you haven't been to a Fringe festival before and you see the printed program, it can be very overwhelming. There's huge schedules, it's a lot of information to sort, and one of the priorities for this year is to really find visual ways to sort information so it's not as overwhelming for the patron. Our next priority of services are concierge services. And so if we look back to the principle of everything being unjuried, concierge services become a huge challenge for us. As you can imagine, the number one question I get on Twitter during the festival is, what show should I see? And because we're an unjuried festival, I can't answer that question. So that's a huge challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity for us to pull together other ways of serving our patrons through concierge. So the focus for this year is to really assist patrons in making their own choices by creating services that help them relate to content through cultural references they already identify with. So to drop that assumption that people who come to the Fringe are already theater patrons and to go to larger cultural references to help sort information. This is a huge shift for the Fringe of moving the responsibility of sorting information from the patron to the festival. So we really want to encourage people to try new things, and as we grow content-wise, we realize we need to kind of funnel that information for people somehow. And then the last category is to work as an aggregator. Traditional media is a huge supporter of the Fringe Festival. We feel very blessed by that in Edmonton. It's something that we know is really unique to the Edmonton market. As traditional media has a variety of challenges as we move forward. We're thrilled that this year we have a record number of reviewers coming from print media, record numbers of reviewers coming from radio, and from television. So we see that building of support. And what we can do is we can serve as an aggregator for all that information. And it also helps us out on the concierge side. So we can't make recommendations, but we can point you in the direction of people who can. So we compile information available to patrons from outside sources on all our internal social media platforms. Awesome. I think it's time for prize number 2. Okay. Tweet to YEG Fringe and Social Media Breakfast if you can remember the number of volunteers it takes to run the festival each year. It's a lot. I won't make you guess like the exact number. The general number I mentioned earlier will be fine. So while you're tweeting away, I'm hoping that this image is quite familiar to a lot of you. This is our Fringe Festival website. Fringe Theatre Adventures has the added challenge that it serves 3 different mandates during the course of the year. So, of course, we produce the Edmonton International Fringe Theatre Festival. We also produce a yearly season called Arts at the Barns at the TransAlta Arts Barns. And then on top of that, we're a venue operator of the TransAlta Arts Barns. So Lauren, she's in that fantastic staff picture. She's coordinating weddings and graduations and trade shows on top of all of our theatrical productions that come through the venue. So this is our website, and then my fancy yellow arrow, I'm pretty impressed with it, points to, that's the highlight of the presentation, is that arrow, is our social media bar. So on every page of the festival website, you'll be able to find our social media bar. It's pretty long. It's beyond the standard Facebook and Twitter. And we could talk a bit about why we were so extensive. And these in order are our Facebook page, our Twitter account, YouTube, Tumblr, Vimeo, our FestFinder app, Yelp, and Pinterest. So we always have all of these platforms available to the patron at a click of a mouse from our website. And there is some integration between the platforms, but you're not going to see the same information repeated on all of our platforms. So Twitter doesn't feed into Facebook, Facebook doesn't feed into Twitter, Pinterest, you're not going to get automatic updates. We really try and make the experience on each of our platforms cater to what those fans and followers want. And when I started doing social media for the Fringe in 2010, that was something that the fans and followers were really vocal about, was we don't want the same information on all the platforms. We want information that makes the most sense to each of those platforms. So if we look at that big roster of all the different platforms that we're using, we sort them into those 4 priorities. So our main participation platforms are Facebook, Twitter, and Yelp. This is where people come to us for conversations. This is where we can really encourage them to explore the festival site in the real world. And it's also where we can have ongoing dialogue with people. So these Facebook and Twitter are really, I would say, the cornerstones of our social media platform. And Yelp is a place where larger conversations about those 3 mandates for Fringe Theatre Ventures live. So reviews about us as a venue, the festival as a whole, our season offerings. We have a lot of visualization platforms. So under here, you'll find Pinterest, Tumblr, Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. One of the great things about the festival is we have an amazing multimedia team, which is made up entirely of volunteers. So we have photographers and videographers on site for all 11 days of the festival. So we have a huge amount of content coming at us. It's actually a big challenge when you have 15 or so professional photographers volunteering. You're just getting an overwhelming number of images. So what we've asked them to do, and we've been doing this for a number of years, is they create a top 25 pictures each day of the festival, and we load that to Facebook. I'll go through each of kind of the platforms in a moment, but these are kind of where all of those great visualizations live. Concierge platforms, we really find Twitter is our #1 driver of questions and where we can respond to people quickly. My favorite example of this is Edmonton's celiac and gluten-free community is very active. And when I took over for social media in 2010 for the Fringe, they were one of the very first people to ask me a question, and it was, what are your gluten-free options from all the vendors on the festival site? And I was like, holy crow, I don't know how to answer that. So Rose is our vendor coordinator, and the vendors were thrilled to be asked, and they provided a list, and we posted it on the website, and we were able to provide links back and forth. When we're working with a festival that's so large, it's the little requests like that that we're not thinking of in advance. But after we're able to answer that question, it made me think, of course, being able to know what gluten-free options are is going to make your trip to the Fringe an easier yes. If you know you're not going to have to pack a million snacks, that you're going to be able to find food for your whole family, it's easier to say, yes, I'll buy 4 tickets to a family-friendly show, and then we're going to go to the vendor area and have a great evening. So it's that kind of concierge level that I've found really refreshing and didn't occur to me before. Pinterest, I'll talk about in a few moments, but it's one of the platforms I'm most excited for 2012, especially in the concierge area. And then for our aggregator platforms, we really rely on the app, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. So you'll see things repeat. They're just ranked differently in how we see them fitting for each priority. Excellent. I feel like I should be asking if you have questions, but I guess that's what the end is for, yes? Yes? Okay. So Facebook has been part of the Fringe probably longer than any other social media platform. This is what it looks like. Nothing earth-breaking. We're sitting at 2,400 followers, and with the festival, we find that everything ramps up starting the day tickets go on sale. So August 7th, make a note in your calendar, tickets go on sale at noon, so do programs. And we'll find that everything really starts to build starting that day. I'm really hoping and praying that we'll double this year because there's so much interest in the Fringe, and people are starting to have more conversations online. Something that we do find at the Fringe is people really love to still call the Fringe. So people will say, oh, I'm on your website. I thought I'd call in and ask a question. So there's still that person-to-person experience that we find that our social media, including our website, really drive people to just call the Fringe and ask questions still. Twitter, again, is taking the lead as our most important social media platform. We have lots of new conversations happening this year that haven't happened in the past, especially with our suppliers and vendors. So we have a new vendor this year for all of our apparel, Gateway Press, and they've been really active on Twitter, and it's given us some advanced content for the festival that we've been missing in the past. So every time they create a new screen, they tweet out a picture of what they're screening that day, whether it's a security t-shirt or volunteer t-shirts, and they're really proud to be associated with the festival. So that's helped us develop content on Twitter while we're waiting for all the big announcements to come forward. Some things on Twitter that's really interesting is there's quite a lot of dialogue between all the Fringe festivals across Canada during their actual festivals. So I don't know if any of you heard, earlier this week, Winnipeg threw down a little bit of a challenge. Their festival runs through to this weekend, and they really want to ramp up their ticket sales, and they're the closest in Canada to beating our ticket sales record, so they're in a hard push. So a lot of their tweets, when you look on their Twitter, are like, we can totally do this. Let's kick it to Edmonton. We can knock them out of the park. So it's quite funny, that dynamic, while Vancouver Fringe is kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, where their voice is really speaking for almost an entire theater community for their city. So they don't speak as much to Fringe theater as all the theatrical experiences within Vancouver. So it's a really interesting dynamic on Twitter right now for Fringe festivals in Canada. As the social media gal for the Fringe, I get a lot of questions about why we have a YouTube account listed and a Vimeo account listed. The YouTube that we link to is a great video that was put on, I believe, by Canadian Tourism. So it's a great overview video. It's a bit dated. It's from 2009 now. But it's a great landing page for people who are really interested in what that general festival experience is. And we do have a lot of international tourism coming to Edmonton, so I like to have YouTube allocated to just this one image. And it's something that we might look at in the future as things move forward. By no means am I a video expert. It's probably the part of social media I'm the least comfortable with, but we're trying really hard to ramp that up. And when we're doing that is with Vimeo. So last year, we, for the first time, tried video as theme enhancement. So we worked with Graphos, and we did 2 videos on the theme of Fringeopolis. We did an animation of our poster, and then we did a really fun do-it-yourself arts and crafts version at the Westbury Theatre, where all of the staff had cardboard cutouts and glue guns, and we were running images on broomsticks with fishing line. It was very like grade 3 arts and crafts. But it was a great way to kind of bring the theme to life for us. For Vimeo this year, we're working with Amplo Media to create 4 educational motion graphic videos on how the Fringe is funded. So moving a little bit away from the theme enhancement or the theme activation to really explaining how the festival is funded. So one of the great things about the festival is 100% of the ticket price goes back to artists. So if you look in the program or you look on the app and it says the ticket is $15, all $15 goes back to the artist. We add on a $2.50 service fee, and over the course of the festival, that service fee only covers less than 7% of our costs. So there's a huge disparity when you look at the numbers that were record-breaking in ticket sales, 140,000 tickets used, but only 7% of our costs are covered by that service fee. So we're really looking forward to video to help us explain and really visualize that message and why we're asking for donations and corporate support throughout the time of the festival. Tumblr is one of the platforms that we initiated in 2010, and the reason that we did that was for some theme enhancement around the We'll Show You Ours theme. We did a great partnership with Parlor magazine where they had a photo booth, a free photo booth with a great little vaudevillian-themed set that you could go and have your picture taken. And with 400,000 people on site, that was a lot of content for us to be posting to Facebook or our website. So we decided to take that off to its own platform, to Tumblr, which in 2010 I thought was pretty cutting edge for the Fringe. But now it's a place where a lot of our photos live, and it's something that as we move closer to the festival, I'm rethinking if it's the best fit for us, because we don't have a partnership like Parlor magazine, and there's not that same kind of public content coming at us in that format. It might make sense for us to move to Instagram for this service, but that puts a lot of weight on us for staffing. Who's going to man Instagram? What kind of images do we want? And how can we bring the theme to life in that way? The Fest Finder app is something new in 2011. This is what it looks like. It's pretty snazzy. We started this last year as a co-pro with the Calgary Fringe from Vertical Motion, which is based in Calgary. And the nice thing about this is it's not perfect, but it also means that it's more affordable for us, so that we were able to kind of buy into an app that works well enough for us and keeping it affordable. The great thing about the app is you can see full schedules, you can make your own schedule, you can email your schedule to friends, and you can even link to the online box office. And in the aggregator sense, it links to all of our Twitter feeds, our video, our Facebook. You can see all the pictures on Tumblr. So it really is your go-to place for information on mobile. We are making some updates this year, knock on wood, knock on laminate, that we can that we can push live updates to the schedule this year to the app, which we weren't able to do last year. This is a huge undertaking by Bottom Line Productions and the Fringe, because each of those updates need to be made manually, which is an ongoing challenge, but Thomas Scott at the Fringe and the amazing people at the box office send a daily update of all the schedule changes. So when you're dealing with 1,800 performances, things move around a little. So we're not really able to just upload it once and leave it be. Last year, TELUS was our sponsor of the app, and they made that possible for us. We were able to give them some nice brand activation right within the app for them. And then again, our final platform that we've been using in the past and continue to use in the future is Yelp. And it's a great place for people who are new to the city to kind of see all the things we do in one place and to have reviews about all those activities. So we updated that with new pictures this year, and we're looking at possibly doing some offers as we move through the festival. So that's what we've done in the past, and then the sister piece to all of our platforms are partnerships and sponsorship integration. Some of the partnerships we're really proud of in the past is the Fringe is an official partner of the Open Data Initiative of the City of Edmonton. We started in 2010, and the festival provides full data sets for the entire festival. I believe there's 11 data sets. It's everything from the geolocation of every bathroom on site, bus stops, the full festival schedule. Brittany, who's in the second row, is updating open data this year, so she has a big task in her hands. In 2010, we were part of the Apps for Edmonton contest. So the city sponsored a division of that contest to build an app with no parameters from the Fringe. You could do whatever you wanted with the app. So there was games, there was scheduling. It was a really interesting experience. Our winner in 2010 was a young man who had just arrived in Canada 4 weeks prior from South Africa with his family, who had never built an app before in his life. So it was a really interesting experience. They've moved to Vancouver, so it was a great networking opportunity and a really interesting story item for the festival. As I mentioned before, another great partnership in the past was with Parlor magazine. So we had the photo booth. It created a lot of content for us, and it was a great example of theme enhancement. So it's something that we're looking at doing again in the future, but it worked really well with that specific theme. And then a partnership that happens behind the scenes is we kind of work with the University of Alberta HUCO department, Humanities Computing. So I'll sit in on their gaming weekend, we'll provide data sets, and we'll talk about all the things that they might be able to do for the Fringe in the future. And so this is a relationship I really see growing, and hopefully we'll be able to implement some of their amazing ideas as we move forward to the next 3 to 5 years. There's been talk of gaming-focused activities. My favorite one was doing site heat maps based on tweets, so like where are the most people on the Fringe site based on where they're tweeting from, QR code integration, and a giant LED wall with like floating reviews. So it's an interesting partnership where we can really think big, and then hopefully in the future we'll be able to start moving forward on some of those initiatives. Sponsor integration is probably the part of Fringe social media you're least interested in. We try to keep it really low-key while being very respectful to the people who make our festival possible. As I mentioned before, TELUS is our main company that requests brand activation online. Last year they asked for it exclusively over on-site activation, which floors me, that they wanted only online. So what we did last year for them was Facebook questions on Facebook. So we would ask questions on the poll every day. We would have a different question. People would answer, like, what's your favorite food at the Fringe? I'd compile all those answers, and then we'd go over to Twitter and do a Sparkline tweet, which is like a little bar graph tweet of what those results were, and those were sponsored by TELUS every day. So in the tweet, it would say, green onion cakes are your favorite Fringe food, sponsored by TELUS. So that was an interesting way to gather information about the festival without just yelling, thank you, TELUS, though we like to yell that too. Thank you, TELUS. And again, they were the title sponsor of the app in 2011. Last year, we had something called Fringeopolis Partners. So the development department's really been reaching out to business partners within the Old Strathcona community. And part of that is program listings, being able to offer coupons. And we took that one step farther with QR code integration. So there was a QR code in the program last year that you could scan that would take you directly to the Fringeopolis Partners page on the website. And simple listings on Facebook and Twitter. So it's a great opportunity for people in the Old Strathcona area to support the festival without having to hit some of the higher sponsorship levels that the development department hits. There we go. So in 2012, we're adding new platforms. I have a little bit of anxiety around this, but I think it makes sense for us. The one that I mentioned before we're really excited about is Pinterest. We have just a few boards up right now, but my favorite board is the amazing Gabe. Gabe Wong is our designer, and he did the great poster this year, and he provided us and released images of his draft concepts. So if you go to our Pinterest account, you can see every stage of the poster development. And it's a really interesting way to kind of see all of the back-end work. What we'll be doing on Pinterest after August 7th is you'll be able to go to Pinterest and view all of the images from the program, the show titles, and links to the box office by genre. So that way we can talk about that concierge effect. For kids, do you really love Treehouse and Storytime at the Library? These are the shows that might be of interest to you. Are you a fan of horror and Grindhouse? These are the shows that might be of interest to you. So we're getting around the unjuried issue by showing people all the different options with cultural references they're already familiar with. So I'm super excited about Pinterest. Other things we're looking at are Storify, Post-Fringe. So how can we collect this narrative of social media? It's something that probably will start trickling out as holdovers start. So it gives us a bit more legs on our social media as the festival moves forward. Another platform we're using is ThinkThing. Is anyone familiar with ThinkThing? So ThinkThing is a social media platform that allows you to tag any image with all different kinds of tags, whether it's text, music, other images, things like that. And we're using ThinkThing to visualize and make interactive some of our static information, like historical timelines. So you'll see a few ThinkThings embedded on our website and in other social media platforms. If you go to ThinkThing, it's a lot of Bieber, so bear with us. And then Julian Main, our past executive director, he just wrapped up this Wednesday which is crazy. A pet project of his is he had Gerald, our amazing front of office staff person who is like a Fringe historian. He's amazing. He has scanned every page of every program since 1981. So we have a huge archive of images of the Fringe. So as we move closer to the festival, on our website, you'll be able to download fully searchable archives of all the programs leading up to 2012. We're also placing all of those in a magazine format on Issue. Issue has been having issues with their search function, so that's why we're doing the double format. And again, Brittany is leading the charge on that one. So I know that was a lot of information all at once, and I hope it kind of provides some understanding of why we do the things we do and why we're spread out over so many platforms. But we're really doing the best we can to make the festival as accessible to everyone as we can. So as the fantastic people in the room who are tuned into social media, I thought it'd be really great to give some hints on how you can support artists during the festival. And they're in pyramid format. The very easiest thing you can do is to go see shows and bring your friends. If you've not been to a show before, just head to the box office and choose one. You don't need to go through the program. You don't need to look at my Pinterest boards. You can just go to the box office and say, I want to see a show in an hour, and they'll pick something for you. So that's really the easiest way to get involved. After that, when you post to social media, please be specific. There's 215 productions and 1,800 performances. That means there's a lot of room for confusion on social media. Please use the play name and link to its specific page on the box office website. I know that's a little more work for you in your personal time, but it means so much to the artists, and it means that your reviews and recommendations will really result in positive momentum. Going back to the fact that we're unjuried, I can't organize a tweet up for you. I really wish I could, but it means that I would have to choose the show, and that would be in violation of our mandate. So I really encourage you to organize your own tweet ups. Take a look at our artists on Twitter. There's a list on our Twitter accounts. If you go to Edmonton Fringe list, there's a list of all the Fringe artists that are involved, and connect directly with them and let them know that you want to bring a big group of Twitter people to their show. And then if you're super keen, offer to help. There's a lot of artists who are putting their heart and soul into these productions, and they might not have the time to dedicate to social media on their own end. Some shows do have dedicated social media people, but if you want to be involved, just reach out and say, I really love Twitter and Facebook, and I want to help you out. Is this something you're interested in? Again, if you go to Twitter, to the list page, all of their handles are there, and they have little show descriptions in their bios, so that's a great place if you're interested in being more involved. The pyramid of success. So the Fringe, we don't operate in a vacuum. We know there's amazing work going on in the world at Fringe festivals everywhere. I only realize now that I do not have audio hooked up to my computer, so I won't show you the video, but I'll show you the pages. So the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is the largest Fringe festival in the world, and I can post all of these in the future, or however these do it. But in 2010, they crowdsourced their Fringe program cover. It blows my mind. So they had a well-known illustrator, Joanna Basford, watch the Twitter feed, and she live-streamed illustrations. And then they compiled those into a variety of Fringe programs. So it took 8 hours. It's an amazing video. We probably don't have time to watch it today, but I'll definitely post everything to our Twitter account so you can watch the video. And this really inspired me to build the Pinterest board that Gabe did. It's like our low-tech version of this example. Something really wonderful that the Vancouver Fringe does is their Fringe storyboard, where they encourage patrons to share their favorite Fringe memory. I think it's time for another contest. Yay! So this will be our last contest. If you can tweet to #YegFringe your favorite Fringe memory, we'll draw from a big pool for a wonderful prize, I'm told. Thumbs up. So it's just starting to build momentum on the Vancouver website, but I think it's a really interesting experience and speaks to that kind of ongoing dialogue that Fringe festivals have with their patrons. I think you can see the direct inspiration here. The Winnipeg Fringe already archives all of their programs. So this is from 1997's Adventure of the Fringe. It's very entertaining. And then from the Adelaide Fringe, this is really intense, and it amazes me that people are so passionate about Fringe theater that they would invest this kind of time and resources. It's a searchable vault of all things Fringe by keywords and Fringe years. So it's a place where you can go and find out everything you would want to ever know about the Adelaide Fringe. And I know in Edmonton there's been some discussion about how things on social media and on websites after big events disappear, that they'll be up for a big event like a track and field event or a big football game, and then all of a sudden that content disappears offline. This is an interesting solution to that. So I think that's the most interesting takeaway from the Adelaide Fringe. A little treat for all of our social media fans out there is on August 7th, we'll be releasing 3 avatars. And if you enjoy the Fringe Festival and you're passionate about the Fringe, we would really love it if you would change your social media avatars to our social media avatars. Yeah. So these are our kids. This is the iconic gazebo outside of the Fringe grounds, and you can see all of our little children kind of huddled in there, waiting to pounce on artists. And then the Fringe moon is our symbol for volunteers this year. And it also harkens back to our Fringe Theatre Adventures logo. So it's a really nice, holistic way of looking at the festival in 3 small images. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening to me for so long.
So we're going to do something different with questions. You're going to say it loud enough so I can hear it, and then I'm going to relay it to the people out in internet land. Woo, internets! So any questions?
No.
Are you tracking QR codes, and are people actually using them?
We've dropped most of our QR codes this year because of that reason. Is we found that it was so much education around it that it wasn't a huge investment for us. So we're really scaled back on QR codes. And I think one of the markers for that flagged it for us is that our media sponsors, who were really QR code invested in 2010, they really scaled back in 2011. So we took our cue from them.
So QR codes equals SMBYEG codes. Any other questions?
I will talk about QR codes and artists, though.
Done.
In 2011, we had a number of artists. They're allowed to supply 1 image for the festival program. And I really encourage artists to submit an image of a person because we're always attracted to people's faces. But we did have a couple of shows that replaced their festival program image with a QR code. They were that invested in it. So it was an interesting experiment.
What if that was their actual face? What if they hurt themselves in a horrible QR code injury?
Wow. That would be very fringy.
That would be awesome, though, if there was a Fringe show and the actual face was a QR code. Note to self. Anyways, any other questions? Yes. How do you protect the copyright of your posters for the program archive?
For the program archive, it's something that we're really free and open with. The Fringe spirit is uncensored and unjuried, so it's not something that we're overly concerned about. Especially this year with Gabe, it's something that we asked him in advance. Are you okay with us releasing these? Yeah. And in previous years, I've only been with the Fringe 3 years. Before that, it was a contest. People would submit posters. So I think they sign over copyright when they win a contest, sometimes.
Yes.
So we're wondering why Vimeo and YouTube?
Why Vimeo and YouTube? How does it differ? Echo.
Part of that is a personal preference, which I know is probably not the best answer. is that I really prefer the usability of Vimeo. I think it looks a lot cleaner, it's a lot easier to brand in terms of where we are now. And I think it goes back to, we really want to use YouTube as a showcase for that Canadian tourism video for our international partners, and this keeps us a bit separate from that. I know with our Amplo media videos that are coming out this year, we'll be loading them to both platforms, but directing people to Vimeo. So you'll still be able to find them on YouTube, we just won't be directing people there. On YouTube? No, it's not something we've done. We don't really have a good handle on all the different kinds of social media our artists are using, and there's a big disparity between people who are using video and people who are using Tumblr. We have a lot of artists on Tumblr, so it's part of the process of going back to unjuried. Do we provide something that aggregates it for the few that are using it to give them a higher profile, or do we kind of create an even playing field for everyone?
I totally agree with what you say, because with my Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo experience, like there's so many exhibitors and indie artists and all that stuff, and everyone wants to be like, hey, plug me this, hey, plug me that. And then like, yeah, it's a slippery slope, because once you start promoting everybody, some people are like, well, why didn't you promote me? And as much as I'd love to say that their art sucks and I can't promote them, but also it's just like, some people don't utilize the tool. So one thing I really like about the Fringe too is how active some of the artists are promoting themselves, like out and engaging people and talking to people and almost putting like mini productions out on the street, encouraging people to come to their shows. So
further to that, I think it's a good counterpoint to explain what we provide them for traditional media. So we provide a really even playing field for artists with traditional media. They're provided the exact same upload page for their media kit. They're provided a full media list of contacts. So we really try and even the playing ground as much as we can. And that's one of the reasons why, if you look at the number of posts the Fringe makes on Twitter and Facebook, it's pretty low for the size of our festival, and it's because we want to leave that space uncluttered for our artists to really move front and center.
yes. What do you do with the negative Nancys and the Donnie Downers out in the internet?
You know what? I leave it to the community to answer to that, because they're the best responders. We often tell artists that a negative review will do way more for you than a positive review. That a negative review will encourage people to see, okay, if it's really that bad, I have to go check it out. But the other thing that it will do is it will really bolster the people who love you and support you to comment on those reviews. So we kind of stay hands-off, and we let the community take care of it. If it's a negative review in terms of the festival experience, like what you're experiencing on site, we respond to those right away. If you're having an issue finding first aid, or you think that the box office was too slow, or that you need assistance finding something, those we respond to right away, of course. Oh, Nadine has a question.
Yes, Nadine.
No, you're right on point. So our videos are around theme enhancement or overall videos of the festival. Productions have their own rules and regulations about what they can film, if they're interested in sharing it that way, and it goes back to the fairness of unjuried. So if we were going to showcase clips of shows, we would have to showcase a clip of every show, and that's probably not something we can facilitate. It also means when we're looking at truncated times, a lot of Fringe shows aren't ready to go on stage until the day the Fringe starts. So how as an organization will we pull all of that information together? It's something we work with traditional media a bit on. We'll have a big media launch on August 7th, and part of that is there's an open call to artists that they're welcome to come and perform a 1-minute segment at the media launch. So we have 30 productions out of 215 coming. That's already an hour of content, and they're only allowed 1 minute. So it's a huge volume of information.
For those of you out in internet land, Nadine had a question in regards to why aren't there videos of performers? And then Stephanie answered it so eloquently. Speaking of also negative reviews, YEGProv last year sucked, so you should definitely go see it. YEGProv was horrible. It sucked, and you should go see it just to see how horrible it was. Prove me wrong, internet. It's fantastic. Yes, Aaron. Okay, pause for question. Pause for repetition. How do you track your successes? How do you measure your social media? Metrics. Answer, please.
So our metrics, we look at them really holistically with everything that's going on with the festival. We try not to get too bogged down in followers and fan numbers, and we really look at the numbers of how are people interacting with our artists, are we gaining new people who are asking questions, and how are our new platforms interacting with one another. I think this year I'm looking at maybe using something like Social Sprout to get some more interesting dynamics and demographic information, but it really is something that's part of a larger holistic kind of experience. As we go through the festival, every day is different, and I know on the back end they're really tracking ticket sales and volunteer numbers, so we kind of look at everything that way. One thing that we are tracking this year that we haven't done in the past is part of the volunteer application program is how did you find out about this volunteer application, and now all of our different social media platforms are part of that. So we're trying to pinpoint from, I guess, an individual perspective of how people are interacting and what the real impact is. But I'm always looking for ways to use metrics to kind of find my way through that, because it's definitely not my strongest point for social media. So email me if you have suggestions. Jess hands. Oh, I think that might be all.
Questions going once. Questions going twice. Sold!
Yay.
That ends the question portion of Social Media Breakfast. So, thank you so much, Stephanie,
Thank you for having me.
for sprinkling Social Media Breakfast with your artistic awesomeness.
Thank you.
And show of hands and applause. Who's going to go check out the Fringe and tweet really loudly about it?
Yay. Thank you.
I'm going to choose to be the negative guy and not applause. And I'm just kidding. I'm going to be like Fringe tarded this year. I'm going to like live on the
I
Fringe.
don't know if I'm okay with that.
That's okay. You don't have to be.
That's true. We're unjuried and uncensored.
Because, yes, you are unjuried and uncensored. So I can walk up and down White Ave and be like, the Fringe is fucking awesome. Woo! And people are like, you should really put on clothes. And I'm like, it's uncensored and unjuried. And then
You'd probably need an artist badge to get away with that.
I'll be like, it's my meltdown. It's a free Fringe show. And blah, 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 blah. Yeah, for show. So now